Prismatic Hunter just keeps on surprising me with more and more amazing builds, and today I'm bringing you a monster build that lets you do so many things. Here we can buff our primary damage to over 10x, so we can go from hitting 3k per shot to over 30,000, letting us absolutely melt champions with ease. Thanks to the new perk this episode, Elemental Honing, and a hunter favorite exotic, we can reach a damage increase of nearly 1000%, and in this video I'll be showing you how you can get 5 stacks of Elemental Honing really easily, so you can shred enemies with your primary weapon. We have access to both Woven Mail and Amplified, so we can stack massive amounts of damage resistance for insane survivability on top. We also have Unraveling Rounds, Threadling Generation, Gunpowder Gamble Grenades, and if that wasn't enough, the ability spam in this build in and out of Transcendence is also nuts, as we fill both our light and darkness bars with ease. And then the icing on the cake is that as this is a primary focus build, we can generate super energy really quickly, so you can use it multiple times in a single GM. And thanks to the recent roaming super buffs, it's actually a very powerful super to quickly clear the battlefield. I've not played a build in recent times that has so many buffs, so many things going on, and it can maintain that level of output even in the hardest of content. Dim link for the build will be in the comments or description below. So let's talk about the core gameplay loop of the build. At the heart of this build, we're using the Hunter Exotic Boots Lucky Pants. Now these boots, when you switch to a hand cannon, provide the buff Illegally Modded Holster, which provides a 45% increased damage bonus to your hand cannon per stack when you damage an enemy. You can stack this up to a maximum of 10 stacks, and at 10 stacks you'll get a 450% increased damage bonus, which is already pretty crazy. This works really well with burst hand cannons because they can reach the 10 stacks much faster than a single firing normal hand cannon. The hand cannon you want to use in this build is the new strand hand cannon Unloved. This is a strand heavy burst hand cannon, and the reason you want this is because it can roll with the new perk Elemental Honing. Elemental Honing grants a stacking damage bonus for each unique element used up to a maximum of 5 stacks. It starts off as a measly 2.5% increase in damage from 1 stack, and it goes up to a whopping 35% damage bonus at 5 stacks, which is more than bait and switch. The buff also lasts for a crazy 23 seconds with enhanced Elemental Honing, so once you do get to 5 stacks, it lasts for a long time to really take advantage of it, so you can go on a real killing spree even without Lucky Pants procced. So how do we get 5 stacks of Elemental Honing? We use the exotic rocket launcher Two-Tailed Fox. The Two-Tailed Fox fires out 3 rockets when you have the catalyst, Fire, Void, and Arc, which immediately will give you 3 stacks of Elemental Honing. To get that 4th stack of Elemental Honing, we add Stasis by throwing 1 Withering Blade Shuriken, which will also trigger Radiant through our Fragment Facet of Dawn. And then we can switch to our Unloved hand cannon, trigger Lucky Pants in the process, and with Unloved being strand, this will proc the 5th and final stack of Elemental Honing. The beauty of this build is that you have to switch to your hand cannon anyways, so it doesn't penalize you much by starting off with Two-Tailed Fox in the rotation. With the Facet of Command Fragment, our Two-Tailed Fox will automatically reload when you fire it, as with the Void Rocket you suppress the enemy, which triggers Facet of Command. This means you don't need to waste time reloading your rocket, and the next time you want to start the rotation off, you can do so immediately. Then once you've procced Elemental Honing times 5, you have 23 seconds of using your primary weapon with a massive damage buff, and you can still dish out great damage without proccing Lucky Pants every time. With a combination of Ascension and Marksman's Dodge, you can reload your primary weapon as well without manually reloading the gun. With very little reloading involved in the build, it just feels super silky smooth to play. Because our primary weapon is strand, we can use the artifact perks Unraveling Orbs and Horde Shuttle to generate Unraveling Rounds and Threadlings, which adds even more AoE clear to the build. All this strand synergy means we fill up our darkness bar for Transcendence very quickly. With our 2 aspects, Gunpowder Gamble and Ascension, we can quickly fill up our light bar as well. Gunpowder Gamble charges up with elemental debuff damage kills, so within this build we unravel enemies with our primary and jolt enemies through Ascension. Initially I was using the rocket sidearm Indebted Kindness, but it may actually be even better to use the solar rocket sidearm Aberrant Action, so that we can get solar kills to charge Gunpowder Gamble faster, and we get heal clip healing on top. With Ascension we trigger Amplified, which now gives you 15% damage reduction and jolts nearby enemies. And whenever we pick up an Orb of Power, we not only gain Unraveling Rounds, but we also gain Woven Mail thanks to Facet of Purpose, which is a further 45% damage reduction buff. So now that we understand how the build works, let's go over it in more detail. For our super, we're using Silk Strike. With the roaming super buffs, this actually hits pretty hard now to clear up champions, and it charges pretty quickly. We're using Marksman's Dodge because it synergizes with Ascension, which means we never really need to manually reload a gun within this build. Triple Jump, Withering Blade, this is to add stasis in our elemental honing buff stacking, and it has 2 charges, which means we can use it more often when needed, and we can trigger Radiant more often through Facet of Dawn. For your grenade, you have a few options. I ran with Magnetic Grenade, but you could also use something like Duskfield or Grapple Grenade pretty easily. For your aspects, you want Gunpowder Gamble, which charges up a big grenade on elemental debuff kills or solar kills. Remember, this thing causes a big ignition, so it can be used to stun unstoppable champions. Ascension is our second aspect, which when you use your dodge ability mid-air, it twirls upwards, applying Jolt, damages enemies, and gives you Amplified, which is a 15% damage reduction buff. For our fragments, we have Facet of Hope, which will give you your Marksman's Dodge back really quickly. Facet of Dawn for Radiant, which is a further 20% weapon damage buff. Facet of Courage, we're unraveling enemies, which is a darkness debuff, so our Ascension and Gunpowder Gamble will do more damage against these enemies. Facet of Awakening, which will give us tons of elemental pickups. Facet of Purpose to trigger Woven Mail for 45% more damage resistance on Orb of Power pickups. And then finally, Facet of Command, so we can auto-reload our Two-Tailed Fox rocket launcher when we fire it and suppress enemies. Moving on to armor mods, we run 2 copies of Harmonic Siphon, meaning our Unloved can generate Orbs of Power. We also have Heavy Ammo Finder, so we can get Two-Tailed Fox ammo reliably. For your gloves, you want 1 copy of Bolstering Detonation for class ability generation during grenade damage, and 1 copy of Firepower for Orbs of Power generation on grenade kills. We also have 1 copy of Fastball so we can yeet that magnetic grenade. For your chest piece, run the relevant resistance mods based on the activity you're running. Then for your boots, you want 2 copies of Strand Weapon Surge, which is a further 17% damage bonus to your Unloved when you pick up an Orb of Power. I also run 1 copy of Better already to add some health regeneration into the build whenever we do pick up an Orb of Power. For your class item, you want to run 1 copy of Reaper, so you generate more orbs after using Ascension. 1 copy of Time Dilation, so your weapon surges last a lot longer, and then 1 copy of Distribution for more ability generation when we use Ascension. For stat distribution, you can see my stats here are pretty bad. The only stat you truly need for the build is 100 Resilience for that 30% damage reduction. A high mobility stat is also very good because then you can use your Ascension ability more often. Then go for Discipline, Intellect, Recovery, and Strength in that order. For artifact perks, the ones that are mandatory for this build are Piercing Sidearms, so you can deal with barrier champions easily, Unraveling Orbs, so you can get unraveling rounds, Horde Shuttle, so you can generate threadlings, and then Limit Break, so your super has a 30% damage bonus when you have a strand buff like Woven Mail active when you activate it. So there you have it, my Lucky Pants Elemental Honing build that uses the Two-Tailed Fox to reach maximum stacks with relative ease. With Radiant Weapon Surges on top, you can reach some crazy damage numbers. If you enjoyed what I talked about today, remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel for more Destiny builds as we get deeper into episode 3. I'm Mr. Ronit, and that's it for today. Peace out, guys.